What's up, guys? And welcome back to the Douyu Cup. Having some trouble getting into this first game, but it is going to be, in total, 4 games. We got Braveheart versus TerrorBlade as our first series in a best of 2, and hey, look at that. It decided to work. So hopefully today, not going to have that many internet issues, but as always, there is very few in the way of what we can actually do to prevent it. I'm Mikelorus, going to be joined by GrandisV for this best of 2. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right, and as you did, I was disconnected from the server at the start, but after reconnect, we're in, so hopefully it's going to work throughout the evening, and we won't have any further issues. But yeah, that said, at the moment, both of these teams are not doing too hot in their standings in this tournament, so honestly, there's not a lot on the line, but yeah, it should be an entertaining series at the very least. Both of these teams are pretty close in power level to each other.
Yeah, TerrorBlade have really been struggling. They have yet to win a match, and therefore they have yet to actually win a single game. Nothing but losses under their belt right now, and there's no elimination right now on the line just for the group stages. It's just for the purposes of forming groups, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but ideally you would like to have some wins just so you can gauge the competition at the very least. So in that regard, Braveheart doing slightly better with 2 wins total, or 2 game wins total, but not really doing too impressive, as you said, for either of these teams. There are a lot of powerful heroes still in the pool as Clockwork Shaker get banned out rather early, so Leshrac, Queen of Pain, Winter Wyvern, select however many you want.
Yeah, and for TerrorBlade, they'll select the Leshrac. That's a good way to start their draft if they want to find a victory this game. They're going to need some sort of support to back it up inside the mid lane. A lot of the common matchups are fairly dangerous for Lesh, and he is very susceptible to being ganked. That said, he is an amazing hero to have. It's going to be a Lina pick for Team Braveheart.
Radiant team pick.
I mean, Lina is a powerful hero. I don't think anyone is really going to doubt that necessarily. They do run her quite a bit, at least in the games that I've seen of Team Braveheart. They've been running the Lina, which is fine, but definitely more of a comfort zone thing. And hey, that's fine. Like, there are quote unquote powerful metagame heroes, but they're also heroes that you work very well with as a team, and sometimes that just trumps it. Especially when you have a Lina in combination with the Spirit Breaker. This Lina can even go mid and have a decent time versus Leshrac, who usually just completely dominates the lane. I think Lina puts up a pretty decent fight.
Yeah, and in general, Lina's pretty good against Lesh. Just a raw amount of front-loaded burst damage to take the Leshrac out of the fight at the very beginning of it until Leshrac has BKB. And even then, if this Lina is mid, you'll have Aghanim Scepter to deal with, and that's very scary. In all honesty, I think Team Braveheart start off their draft on a pretty good foot. For the Dire team, it looks like they are just going to go for those powerful meta heroes. They'll follow up their Lesh with a Gyrocopter.
There's nothing wrong with that either. Gyrocopter, Leshrac. I mean, they are pretty mixed damage, which is always something that's nice to have. Makes the enemy team a little bit struggle a little bit to deal with their defensive power. Leshrac, Gyrocopter, both doing a mix of physical and magical damage. Should be looking for a couple supports to complement these heroes. I think Rubik should be at the top of their list. Not only combos with Lesh, but also Gyrocopter, so it does double duty there. But bare minimum, they should be looking for some point-click stuns to actually start things off, so that they can actually use the power of Leshrac's and Gyrocopter's magic damage and hopefully cancel a Spirit Breaker charge. Rubik is definitely ban material here for Braveheart, and if they don't, I'll actually be very surprised.
5 seconds remaining.
And if they don't, maybe they'll pick it up themselves, but if it's completely ignored, that would be absolutely stunning. I don't think that would be something we're going to see. It's going to be a Lycanthrope ban and a Broodmother ban. Both of these teams seemingly very afraid of annoying split pushers on either side. Gyrocopter can deal with Broodmother fairly effectively, and Lycanthrope to a lesser extent, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Honestly, I don't think these bans tell us very much. Actually, a Templar Assassin ban. Now that's very interesting. Lesh does very well traditionally against TA in mid.
Yeah, just being able to have some range advantage over her, which is not too uncommon, but the lightning spam, typically is blocked by some of Templar Assassin's refraction charges. Unless you cast it directly on her, she will see it coming, she'll be able to cast refraction. So as far as, short spurts of defensive power, yeah, Templar Assassin is pretty annoying. I guess it's like a fine ban considering Braveheart still potentially could be looking for their mid lane, and TBs clearly want to put this Leshrac in the mid lane, or maybe even a hero that gets even harder countered by this Templar Assassin. Just most of the time, if a team is going to pick up a TA, it's not going to be until, well, another game. It's not really going to be in this game because she's never picked up, but if she is, then it's going to be the last pick.
Yeah. Well, that said, we're going to go into this first pick in the second stage for Team Braveheart. As you've already kind of mentioned, Rubik
Five
is
seconds
probably one of the
remaining.
heroes that should be considered by both of these teams. If it's not for the Rubik, Team Braveheart still are lacking
Reserve
some sort
flag.
of safe laner and still have a lot of flexibility in their draft. There's a lot of different ways that they could go about laying this, so it's a very open-ended pick here.
Yeah, they could look for some more initiation as well. TB, they have what I assume to be their mid lane and their safe lane hero. And there's the initiation I was talking about.
Dire
Storm Spirit
team pick.
is going to be the pick for Team Braveheart. After having banned out the Clockwork, they grab the Storm Spirit, who usually, those are the two that teams are fighting over as far as initiation power is concerned. They also have the Spirit Breaker as kind of a secondary or even a primary initiator. So Braveheart's effective initiation range is pretty outrageous, and if Lena grabs a Yule Scepter, she could do it pretty much all on her own. Now they just need someone to actually capitalize on it, but honestly, it's going to be hard for TerrorBlade to start any fights in this game unless they're, going to use
seconds
Fog of
remaining.
War to their advantage or just constantly smoke up.
Yeah, and
5
although Lishrak
seconds
probably
remaining.
going to be thinking of building a Yules this game to keep himself safe against the Spirit Breaker and presumably an Orchid from the Storm Spirit, it is going to be very difficult. And honestly, the offlaners that could fill that void and give them some sort of initiation edge, at least part of the time, aren't really available. The one that's usually there is the Clockwork, but outside of that, there aren't that many great heroes for them to pick up. Darkseer, if they do want that offlane initiator, could be very interesting. Vacuum into Split Earth with Gyrocopter Call Down is an amazing combination, but I think for now it's safe just to pick up the Rubik. But instead, it's the Bounty Hunter. Gyrocopter and Leshrac by themselves are very potent killing heroes, and with the Bounty Hunter roaming in, just any little small bit of setup in the laning stage could net them kills pre-6 on the Storm Spirit or on the Lina.
We've been seeing a lot of, or I've been seeing a lot of Bounty Hunter played by
For sure.
TerrorBlade, and the Bounty Hunter tends to be out of position a couple of times. Like, he's not exactly the safest bounty hunter in the world, if that makes any sense. And a bounty hunter against a Storm Spirit and
seconds
Spirit
remaining.
Breaker, I don't know. Like, yeah, you could always have the upside of getting
5
tracked and getting your team
seconds
super
remaining.
far ahead, but at the same time, these two heroes are heroes that can punish you for casting a track, and there aren't really
Reserve
many
time.
heroes that can do that. But track casting it does reveal your position, and Storm Spirit and Spirit Breaker are really good at getting on top of heroes that reveal their
Dire
position,
team
especially if
pick.
there's no one near the bounty hunter, and there rarely ever is. So I'm concerned that this bounty hunter, whenever he tries to do some track shenanigans, he's just gonna get instantly jumped, and well, and he's just gonna die.
And even if he's not jumped, he might just get his track stolen. That advantage flipped on Braveheart's side. The Rubik pickup is going to come out from them, and in general, just a really good support. There's a lot of good spells to steal this game. Leshrak's entire kit is wonderful, maybe with the exception being
10
Pulse Nova,
seconds
but all of
remaining.
his basic skills are great. And then track pretty much means you have Bounty
5
Hunter on your team
seconds remaining.
without actually having a Bounty Hunter, which is pretty darn good.
And Shadow Walk is also pretty obscene from Rubik, especially early
Reserve
on when,
time.
later on it gets a little bit worse since you have a Force Staff or a Blink Dagger to get in, but early on when you don't have that, using just Invis, Walk In into Lift Up, man, it's devastating. Like a random stun out of nowhere. That's why you don't see that many stuns on Invis heroes, guys. Rubik is going to be picked up by Team Braveheart, and that's fine. You combo up with the Lina, and it's just a nice defensive support. So, much like how Rubik is good with the Gyrocopter, he's also good versus him. You have an
10
ally who's
seconds
getting
remaining.
Rocket Barrage, you just peel the Gyrocopter away with the telekinesis forcibly, and most of the time
5
they'll be a little bit
seconds
more
remaining.
fine to disengage. TB, fourth pick going to be Witch Doctor. I don't think much can be read into this one, as if you pick up a Bounty
Reserve
Hunter,
time.
your other support hero really needs to be one of those poking, babysitting support heroes, and Witch Doctor is pretty darn good at that.
Yeah, in general, I think that TerrorBlade's lineup relies very heavily on winning their lanes and doing very well at the early stage of the game. If they ever get behind, Team Braveheart have a lot of different tools at their disposal, namely the Storm Spirit and the Spirit Breaker, to control the map and make it very scary for the Leshrac and Gyrocopter to ever push out, and also to punish the Bounty Hunter. So, yeah, we'll just have to see. In general, their lanes are looking reasonably good, so that's still something to keep in mind. But yeah, I'm liking Team Braveheart's initiation more than anything. It's something that's really missing from TerrorBlade, and it's a very key part of most drafts.
And TB probably going to look towards the offlaner for their initiation, which sometimes can happen, although nowadays it's not really super common. Undying going to slip his way all the way to the 5th ban spot. An offlane Undying would have helped TerrorBlade to teamfight, but not necessarily to initiate. Still potentially TerrorBlade as an offlaner. I don't know. I was thinking of Hero, but then as soon as I saw that Undying ban, I just completely forgot about it. I blame that Undying for making me lose my train of thought. It'll come to me, I think. Maybe.
Well, as far as the ban coming out from the Dire side, Yeah, there's a lot of different heroes that it could be for Team Braveheart. They might run the Storm Spirit in safe lane and Lina mid, leaving them lacking one support, but I think it's more likely that we see the support Lina this game with an off lane Bara, and they'll still need the safe lane farmer. But yeah, to go back to the off lane here for the Dire side, I think maybe like a Centaur Warrener could be an interesting pick for them if he's able to get his Blink Dagger up at a reasonable time, or at the very least, just get enough experience to get the Stampede up and running. That gives them some much needed initiation, but getting that Blink Dagger is fairly difficult, especially since his lane is presumably going to have a Rubik Lina support duo against him.
I was just thinking about Darkseer. I can't believe I
Fair
forgot
enough.
the fact that I was thinking about Darkseer. Like, it's such an easy pickup. It's one of the safest offlane heroes you can
Absolutely.
possibly get. You get the Ion Shell with the Bounty Hunter. You get Surge with Gyrocopter and Leshrac. Overall, would be a pretty good pickup for the offlane, although there's a lot of control on Team Braveheart's side, and then Braveheart are going to pick up the Lifestealer. I'm not surprised about this at all. Was thinking that they were going to go for this ever since they picked up that Spirit Breaker, but you have so many ways of getting into this fight, Lifestealer, and the health pools, the effective HPs of TerrorBlade. Gyrocopter does tend to have quite a bit of armor. Leshrac, though, typically tends to build lots of health, not much armor. There's a sweet spot where he has like Bloodstone and he's looking for Shivas, but he's not quite there yet. Then Lifestealer
10 seconds
gets super
remaining.
value, and TerrorBlade have nothing that really effectively cuts
5
through Lifestealer's
seconds
rage.
remaining.
Maybe Beastmaster. Okay, no, Bloodseeker.
And also, they don't have the greatest tools to stop him from getting the rage off. The Spoiler Earth isn't very reliable, comes out very slow, and Bloodseeker's silence, now that's on the pool, is also going to be fairly unreliable. Very interesting last pick coming out from the TerrorBlade side in general, just very greedy. If you take a look at their lineup, all 5 of these heroes are very squishy without farm. Again, it's going to put a lot of emphasis on these lanes and how well they're able to do. The off lane looks like it might just be sacked, as they could just throw the Bloodseeker into the woods.
I'm a big fan of this Bloodseeker last pick if they didn't have a Bounty Hunter, right? Like, I think the best way to
sure.
play the Bloodseeker is put him on the safe lane solo, run an offensive tri-lane, kind of similar to how Clinkz works, because Bloodseeker usually will maybe not dominate his lane, but he will do very well in his lane just with his sustain, and if
10
there's
seconds.
one, even 2 enemies in his lane, he will be usually breaking even. But with the Bounty Hunter, if you try to go offensive with a Gyrocopter Witch Doctor, as powerful as those 2 heroes are together, I just don't think they're necessarily powerful
Prepare
enough, so
for battle.
they may have some difficulty with this laning stage. You said they may have to end up, for the most part, sacrificing a lane unless they want to juggle their lanes in a really big way, and Bounty Hunter, he has a loadout that you can actually lane okay with, so we may be seeing that from them. But for right now, guys, Braveheart, they're going to be on the Radiant side. Slight favorites to win this game, although not by such a huge margin. Sure, is going to be on the Spirit Breaker. We got Storm Spirit as Storm Spirit. Chen Chen is going to be playing the Lina, and then Chaoyue is on the Lifestealer, and then they got a Rubik too.
And for the Dire side, there's going to be Gyrocopter by Chiyu, Socks on the Leshrac. Witch Doctor is going to be supporting, and the Bloodseeker is looking to go towards the woods with his starting items, operating with no regen. He could be safe lane farming as well. We'll just have to wait and see. And Bounty Hunter is
30
currently
seconds
down
to
in the
battle.
bottom lane. Looks like that's where he's going to stay.
So this Witch Doctor cosmetic, I haven't seen this before, but seriously, what the hell is going on? Like,
It's a monkey, and he
it's just a
throws
monkey.
coconuts. You just have to accept it.
Oh, it
It's-
throws the coconuts.
Yeah,
I
and
haven't
it's
seen
literally a
anything 'cause I don't
coconut.
actually care about these immortals at all, but that's hilarious. Chen Chen getting hit with the Split Earth. Silence there as well, taking a lot of damage, start things off, but over lift up is going to keep Chiyu out of this fight, and Chen Chen will be able to disengage. Now fighting over the Rune, who's going to grab it. It's going to be the Leshrac, but another 3-man LSA actually, and Sox is taking a beating right now. Storm Spirit right on top of him, Split Earth, going to connect, but Sox is running back into the fire zone. That's not a good place to be. Charge forward onto Chiyu as TerrorBlade have already lost 1. They may even well lose 2. Not quite going to happen in time. There's the coconut as Bounty Hunter finally arrives to this fight. The cast keeping everyone in the back lines stunned up, but another LSA to help disengage. Silent Circle, I think, goes down, starting to lag. Not good, but it looks like the Bounty Hunter's fast enough to catch up, get the kill on the Rubik, ultimately ending in a 1-for-1 trade. Bounty for Bounty Rune, even split. Bravehearts, slight advantage.
Yeah, definitely so, and it was the Leshrac to die, so it is going to take him a little bit longer to get in the lane, but as everything settles down, yeah, pretty even trade. The Gyrocopter also goes all the way back to base. They're not going to miss anything inside this lane, except for the Bloodseeker starting with the Bloodrite is actually going to slow down his farm quite a lot, in all honesty, and Bloodseeker is going to have to go back to base.
Yeah, Bloodseeker is going to be a long time off of any sort of useful contribution, so we actually have a charge going up towards top. Chen Chen right now holding the lane solo, and that's going to give him a level 2, and the Spirit Breaker is only level 1. That's actually working out very well for Bravehearts, since that's exactly how they want this lane to progress. Of course, they want level 2 unsure, so you can actually follow up this Witch Doctor, but getting Chen Chen a couple of minutes of free farm, just grabbing that level 2 is very close to level 3, ups the kill potential of this lane by such a huge margin.
This laning situation for Bravehearts, it's pretty interesting to see them go for these dual lanes, but it is working very nicely. Oh, mid lane Storm Spirit caught out by the Shreks combination, and that's a dead Storm just like that. Sock's gonna get that one solo.
Storm versus Leshrac is not really a fun matchup for the Storm Spirit. He's outranged, he has less killing power, and he has less lane control. So pretty much across the board, no matter what, Storm Spirit is going to be on the receiving end of a lot of pain. That being said, the Storm Spirit does have his bottle, and Socks, well, he does have it coming out to him right now, so he has his bottle as well, but bottle for bottle means Storm Spirit isn't going to get completely crushed all the time. He's just going to take a lot of damage most of the time, like we're seeing right now. He's trading hits now with Socks, but another Lightning, Split Earth, going to be casted. Storm Spirit going to be fine for right now, as Socks also taking a beating from the creep wave. So a very delicate situation in this mid lane, and unfortunately for this Storm, Socks is going to grab a regen rune. How much regen can he actually get off of it, however, because there's a Spirit Breaker incoming. Charge going to connect with no Split Earth landing. Now Static Remnant, not on time actually, cooldown. And Socks will regen and throw some lightning on the retreat. Here comes the Bloodseeker, Silent Circle way off the mark. Oh man, these Chinese servers are already not working well for me. I think after this little squabble, we have to reconnect.
Hopefully it's not too bad. Leshrac getting that full regen off is actually a big deal. It was a perfectly placed stun by him. Honestly surprised that they grouped in such a fashion to where they could get caught out by that very low level stun, but yeah, it's going to work out very nicely for Socks. His laning stage is working out very nicely. Down the bottom lane, Lifesteal is getting pretty much free farm. There's no pressure applied by the Bounty Hunter. So there is that going for the Braveheart team, and the top lane is also looking wonderful. So across the map, it's fairly even though the Leshrac is getting quite a lot. They're going to charge forward up into the top lane. Lena's caught out with the Rock Brush Maledict combination. Looks like the Lena is going to go down. She'll try to tango up through this, but she's already taken a beating. They'll charge forward. They have no Light Strike Array, but a 70% bash over onto the Gyrocopter will drop him low. Witch Doctor will get the kill onto the Lena, and honestly, I'm surprised that Lena didn't try to join that fight again. She was pretty much dead already.
Yeah, the Maledict was pretty much death sentence. We have rotation over towards the mid lane, actually. Storm Spirit hiding under his tier 1. There's a Bounty Hunter here. Well, top lane, going to be another kill. Gyrocopter and the Witch Doctor, I expected to be going up against 3 heroes, but simply not the case in this particular game. So, yeah, they're going to find themselves in a much better position. The expectation for this Bounty Hunter is that he gets experience, and really Bounty Hunter in a lane is not a strong hero. He lands, in quotation marks, by just sitting in the back line, sometimes invis, and absorbing experience. So the fact that Xiaoyue is getting so much farm is pretty much TerrorBlade's plan, or at least something that is unavoidable for them. I would expect a fast hand of Midas on this Lifestealer, and yeah, the recipe at least is flying out to him right now.
Yeah, so he's going to have that at very good timing, and now that the Bounty Hunter has completely left the lane, nothing's really going to happen. The ideal situation for the Bounty Hunter is that he snipes that courier with the Midas recipe, but yeah, he's just been chilling behind mid. Level 3, the Bounty Hunter could, in theory, set up kills, especially onto the Storm Spirit, though even rotate the Bloodseeker out of the woods. That's pretty interesting that Bloodseeker decides to go for that, but now TP's in from the Lena and the Rubik, coming in from the sidelines with the charge over onto the Leshrac. This could get scary. The Splitter's not going to connect, and Socks is in a lot of trouble if they decide to keep on going. But Spirit Breaker is going to press the stop button and everybody will retreat. But that was 4 Radiant Heroes into the mid lane.
And they got absolutely nothing accomplished, and they're
Courier?
still trying to get something accomplished.
Down in the bottom area, that's going to be sniped out by the Bounty Hunter. Well played there.
Oh man, I kind of thought that... Oh wait, here we go. Here's the punishment of the Bounty Hunter that I was talking about before. They have a charge incoming, and Lena is going to run into the Bounty Hunter as well with Dust at the ready. So this Bounty Hunter has a 0% chance of escaping unless they forget that they have the Dust. Hide in the corner, man. Try to dig yourself to freedom. That's not going to work. Lena's going to draw the kill on the Bounty Hunter, but still grabbing the courier for the death of the Bounty Hunter, who's already level 4. Not exactly the worst trade in the world. Since really for Bounty Hunter, your job is to help the team at any stage in the game, and Courier helps the team a lot more than just a marginal amount of experience from 1 kill.
And it pulls both the Spirit Breaker and the Lena off to the top lane. So that's some free time for the Gyrocopter to farm. In general, I think that's a good trade for the Bounty. Later on in the game, maybe it doesn't work out as nicely for them, but yeah, this early on, it's pretty good. Storm Spirit's been spotted out, but it looks like he's going to be able to survive. There's no way to snipe him, even though they got the Thirst Vision.
Yeah, the Bloodseeker is expecting the Bloodseeker to play this game very, very quietly since he's not quite level 6. Rupture does go through Lifestealer, pretty much everything that he has, but I'm pretty sure Lifestealer most of the time won't really care that he's Ruptured, especially since he does have Chan Chan and the Rubik right behind him. This is a kill combo if they see anyone, and they do see the Bounty Hunter. There's the Dust, and there's the Lag. It's a classic play, Dust into Lag, but there we go. Open Wounds, LSA, guaranteed to land. They have more than enough to kill him off, just a matter of who's going to get the last hit, and Rubik, he casted absolutely no skills, yet he drew the kill. Classic kill-stealing Rubik.
Still going to be a nice pickup for the team. Bounty Hunter has lost his life several times. The Dust paying for itself and then some coming up from Nalina. She's been involved in 3 kills over this game. And in the meantime, up in top lane, Spiritbreaker is nearing his level 6 mark. With so many rotations, Lina is sacrificing a lot of XP herself, but still is able to contribute nicely.
Bravehearts across the board, the exception being Chao Yue on the Lifestealer, getting really, really out CS'd. Like, mid lane is being doubled up and pretty easily at that, which is what you would expect from that type of lane. They're getting absolutely no CS from the top lane though, and the Bloodseeker's also last hitting in the jungle without being punished at all. So across the board, it's TerrorBlade to get slightly more farm. The kill score is tied. So Braveheart, they really have to do something with this experience. That's going to be kicking into gear in just 3 experience, since the Storm Spirit almost has that ball lightning, so he's almost going to be ready for action. But with all this farm going into the pocket of TerrorBlade, it's up to Braveheart to actually step up and play aggressively, make sure that this farm doesn't go unpunished, but it doesn't seem like they're really in a great position to do that just yet.
Ben Hinder's going to block out the medium camp with an Observer Ward, but he was spotted by the Rubik, so they might know that that obs was placed, but even if they don't, they at the very least know where Bounty Hunter has been roaming towards. Up in top lane, looks like rotation in from Sox. They could very easily dive the Spiritbreaker, but the Bloodseeker down in bottom lane, they're going to be able to kill him off with the damage coming out from Lifestealer's ultimate. Tier 1 will be destroyed by the Gyrocopter up in top lane.
Yeah, just Bloodseeker getting a little bit too close to the Lifestealer, going up against the Bounty Hunter, and for Lifestealer you could pretty much choose whatever build you want to go for after that. Of course, going, in this case, for the most aggressive route as far as killing enemies are concerned with the Open Wounds, and I can only assume that that caught the Bloodseeker somewhat by surprise, since Open Wounds, the increase in levels just pretty much increases the cast range. Sometimes it's relevant, sometimes it's not, but in this case it definitely was. Bloodseeker doesn't really have anything great to defend himself either, except from being Rupture and Run, but you can't really run real fast when you're bleeding all over the floor, which is actually true for both heroes now that I think about it.
Yeah, an absolute bloody mess in the bottom lane, but yeah, it's the Bloodseeker to get the lesser half of that exchange. We're currently paused. Bounty Hunter has disconnected, so that's unfortunate, but yeah, as we look across the map, Lifestealer is the one that needs to hold a lot of weight. Since he used Infest for that kill, it's not going to be available, but once it is, I'd like to see him partner up with the Spiritbreaker, who just freshly picked up his Nether Strike, or the Storm Spirit, who has an Invis Rune. There's a lot of good vessels this game, as we talked about in the draft, for the Lifestealer to get into these fights, and with so many squishy targets on the enemy side, it's probably good that Braveheart just go aggressive. Even though Lifestealer is farming well now, if they keep up at this pace, Gyrocopter and Lesh just have so many flash farming abilities at their disposal that they'll inevitably fall behind.
They farm super quickly, and they're already far ahead in the farm, so they kind of have a head start there. Braveheart's going to have to do double time in order to actually catch up, and I think you're correct. Like, Lifestealer could farm really quickly with this Hanamitis. Hell, even with this Gloves of Haste, maybe he's going to turn it into a Lightning Hammer, but even with that, he can't out-farm both the Gyrocopter and the Leshrac and the Bloodseeker in the background as well. So he's going to have to get some kills to complement his farm and CS. Killing towers also perfectly fine. Is he actually going for anything just yet? No, just the Gloves of Haste. He has so many Gloves of Haste right now in his inventory, and his attack speed and really overall threat is pretty high. Smoke gonna be blown by the Bounty Hunter for the up-team time, but there's smoke right behind the Bounty Hunter. It's a trap. They're gonna try to burst down the Bounty Hunter, then make their way out, but they're taking so much damage. That's Rubik down. Chan Chan hiding in a corner. Shield drop as well. And we have a charge coming in onto this Bounty. Sure is going to connect. Nether Strike will get this kill, call down, preventing Storm Spirit from engaging right now, and that should just about be it, as they're going to try to chase for Chao Yai, who decided to join this fight. Bad idea, however. Orb of Venom and Janata do slow the life, so they'll take him down. Still, the Storm Spirit is invis, but there's no more detection on this Bounty Hunter, so they can no longer get any kills. It's a nice series of kills for TerrorBlade, and it's going to go completely unpunished. And I'm going to have to reconnect one more time, because that fight was just terrible to watch.
That's a really big deal for the TerrorBlade team. They're going to find themselves now sitting on a pretty hefty advantage. As we saw in the early laning stage, they were out farming the enemy team, but up until this point, they weren't getting the kills after the fact, but now Leshrac is sitting on his Arcane Boots point booster. He's pretty darn tanky, and compared at face value to the Storm Spirit, there really is no comparison. Speaking of that Storm, he's going to get cut out by the Lightning in mid. He'll be forced to zip up to the north, and he is going to survive with no Split Earth connecting, but even so, the Storm's inventory is pretty sad at the moment. Just the small items. Ooh, Rubik finds himself a Bloodseeker. With a little bit of help from the Spirit Breaker and everybody else, the Bloodseeker probably shouldn't have been down that bottom lane to begin with.
Well, Storm Spirit trying to grab the rune is going to get quite far away with that ball lightning. Looks like Leshrac can't quite get line of sight for that lightning, and there's not yet any track. This Bounty Hunter's experience gain has since, well, completely stopped at this point. He hasn't gained a level in quite a long time, so track not yet up, but still getting a kill on the Bloodseeker. Braveheart applying some pressure to some heroes. Unfortunately, Bloodseeker is not really the hero that really matters right now. Like, you got to deal with this Leshrac. You let the Leshrac through the pool. The enemy team first picked it, and, well, we could clearly see why. Sox has been dominating his lane and has been dominating everyone outside of his lane as well. So just letting this Leshrac roam free, letting the Gyrocopter roam free, and Bravehearts, they're just kind of asking for it. They have so many ways of getting on top of them, yet they're just not using any of it.
Yeah, if we compare at face value, the farm Lifestealer's about at the same level as the Leshrac and Gyrocopter, and that's just not a good situation for Braveheart to be in. As a hero, Lifestealer kind of needs to get ahead, or else he's just going to be incessantly kited around, or ruptured and forced to not really engage. This is starting to get a little bit scary. Honestly, I think a lot of the aggressive power coming out from Braveheart's team is being put to waste at the moment. They have the Nether Strike up for the Spirit Breaker, they have Laguna Blade, they have all of the advantage that these levels are going to give them. There's not really much more to wait for. They have an armlet flying out to the Lifestealer, and that's pretty nice and all, but honestly, I think it's time that they go for an Infest Smoking.
And the enemy team's not really going to get any worse. Like Gyrocopter, Bloodseeker, Track even going to kick in soon. They're only going to get better on TerrorBlade's side, so the more they wait, the harder it's going to be. Still, they have a good amount of time where their sheer burst damage with the Lina and whatnot can just instantly win them some fights if they land like a 2-man Dragon Slave, 2-man LSA. Yeah, they're going to be doing pretty well, but this style of just, you know, sitting back and doing nothing while the enemy team are the ones to smoke up, it's, well, first of all, not really what you would expect. You would expect these roles to be reversed, but we do have a smoke coming out from TerrorBlade's side, and oh my god, Chinese servers, why today? You were so good for so many days.
Oh, mid lane?
So
There's going to be a charge onto the Bloodseeker as well as the Laguna Blade, but the fight breaks out in the backlines with the Split Earth connecting onto the Lifesteal. Rage out of it, running away from the Witch Doctor ultimate. Infest into a creep, and that'll keep him alive for a little while longer, but as soon as he pops out of the creep, he's going to be blown up by the Leshrac. He'll catch a Split Earth on the Rubik over in the sidelines, but this fight is starting to spread out in a pretty big way. They found the Rubik and will be able to burn him down with the ultimate. Although Leshrac has pad out of mana, he has a regen. Pretty much the best situation. Radiant Courier will be sniped on the south, and now the Spirit Breaker's isolated with no team. They'll chase him down with the track movement speed, with the Orb of Venom, with the Lightning, with the Rocket Barrage, and all of those tools will be put to great use. They do lose their Bloodseeker, but that's track kills for the TerrorBlade side. That's a really big advance, and as you said, it's kind of switching roles. Braveheart, we like their draft because of the ability for them to get kills with the Storm Spirit Breaker, but they're not accessing that.
Yeah, Bravehearts, they invested a lot to get that Bloodseeker kill. They, well, kind of left their Lifestealer out to dry, maybe assuming that he would be able to survive because he does have his armlet, he does have Rage and Infest, and quite a few survivability tools, but just the fact that TB were kind of willing to sacrifice their Bloodseeker because they knew that so many other heroes were going to go into that fight that was closer to the mid lane worked out so much better for them, and still Braveheart, they just kept on funneling heroes in one at a time. First it was the Lifestealer, then it was the Rubik to wander in and he got killed by the Pulse Nova, then Spirit Breaker ended up sitting on an Observer Ward. Just overall not good positioning for the Braveheart side, as they just got constantly picked off because I don't think they really knew that they were spotted as they were coming in, and that's, well, vision at work for the TerrorBlade side. They soon have a Bloodstone on the Leshrac, and they're getting a hell of a lot of farm. Lifestealer, yeah, he died as well, and having 2 deaths on Chaoyue, armlet or not, is really going to set him back because there's so much weight on this Lifestealer's shoulders. A single death means he's not farming, and just that is super costly for Bravehearts.
Yeah, and the Bounty Hunter in that last fight accelerated things so much for them. At least 2 of those kills were tracked, and they got the Courier Snipe. But a charge up top, they might be able to catch up this Gyrocopter. He has no backup at the tower yet. No TPs are coming in instantly. With the Nether Strike, they should be able to kill him off, but will be able to get out safely. The cooldown's going to be dropped. Douyu will Rage TP, and that'll keep him alive. They'll throw the Coconut over onto the Spirit Breaker, catch him out with the Lightning Storm, and Spirit Breaker is going to be the cost for that Gyrocopter pick, but still worth it for Braveheart.
I don't think that was a track kill either. Didn't quite see that with my frame rate right now, but yeah, there's the kill. It's going to be Leshrac to grab it. It's still worth it for Braveheart to make those types of plays, but it's kind of costly. Like, yeah, you dive a tier 1 tower, so you know that there's going to be inherent risk involved, but losing the Spirit Breaker, trading it away, slowing down the enemy Gyrocopter is good, but at this point, trades just aren't really that great for Braveheart. They need to get nice, clean kills. They need to get out with everyone alive. They also need this Bounty Hunter not to die right now, but he hits it with a free hand on the LSI. Dust is there. He'll get blown to smithereens. Very easy kill. As Bounty Hunter unfortunately walks right by a Sentry Observer combo.
It's going to be a nice pickoff for the Braveheart side. Again, they're just getting a little bit more gold over these last few minutes. The Lifesteal has translated this into a lot of raw gold. He's sitting on almost 2,000 in the bank, and it looks like Maelstrom is going to be the course of action. Maybe Desolator.
Oh, Bravehearts. They stole Shadow Walk on Rubik, and he's going to spot a gigantic stack. This is going to be a ton of experience for the Rubik, and oh my god, why always when there's about to be a fight? I don't understand.
It's probably because there is going to be a fight.
But how does the game know, man? How do they know? I'm gonna have to ask you to prep your stream, because I don't know if you're getting any more frames than I am, but it's not looking pretty over here.
It's lagging a little bit for me. 50% better than you? I don't know. I'll get ready, so if it actually becomes any worse than this, we'll go for a switch, but if it stays at about this rate, that's probably what I'm going to get. But over in the sidelines, oh, there's going to be a smoke, but it's instantly popped. The Rubik with the Shadow Walk is going to get a lot of scouting vision, but he might walk over a sentry if he's not careful. There is one placed on that high ground, but Rubik will evade detection. That's a pretty big deal. 100 gold down the drain, and Rubik gets halfway towards level 7 off of that stack.
That was a pretty sweet steal from the Rubik. Didn't actually get any gold from that, but hey, that's, I mean, you get a lot of experience. It was split 5 ways since everyone in TerrorBlade was there, but now Rubik is walking into a danger zone. He's pinged out right now, Silent Circle goes down, and it looks like Rubik will worm his way back to safety, or at least a position where he could TP out. The tower, not going to be as lucky, however, really towers across the board. Tier 1's going to be falling almost simultaneously. Bottom lane being torn down by level 2 Edict. Xiaoyue doing his best to kill off the tier 1 mid. Up towards top, it's going to be Storm and Spirit Breaker to take that one down. Who's going to win this race? It's going to be bottom lane first. Mass TPs over towards mid. Gyrocopter, or Lifesteal rather, grabs the tower. Rage TPs will be just fine. And top lane, no one's actually going to respond to that one. So it's an even 1-for-1 tower trade.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Fair enough. At this point, I think Braveheart will be pretty happy with that, but a long zipping in bottom, but unfortunately, they're not going to be able to get the Vortex on the Bloodseeker, so he'll be able to TP up towards the top lane, tries to go for the Spirit Breaker, but a pretty similar story there. No way to cancel that, or at least no way to cancel that close by. So everybody's going to escape freely. Rubik in mid, again, under the guise of the Shadow Walk, will walk right by an Invis Bounty Hunter, although none of them is going to be the wiser. It looks like the Dire team want to angle for a Roshan.
Do they have a medallion, though? That's going to help out a ton, just in this game in general. It seems like they don't, so killing off Roshan is going to be hinging upon this Helm of the Dominator, and the, of course, extra sustain from the Witch Doctor, but they... Well, does the Rubik still have Spell Steal active? No, he doesn't, so just loses the Bounty Hunter's Invis, which is unfortunate for him, because right about now is when you want to have an Invisible Scout, which right now, TerrorBlade do have Bounty Hunter on the roam just to get a little bit of vision on the board, and Bravehearts, this is really where they would want to initiate. They have Storm Spirit, they have a Spirit Breaker, and they're going into super close quarters. That's ideal for them. Unfortunately, they are none the wiser.
Well, and since they have no detection around here, it looks like Roshan's going to be given freely over to the TerrorBlade side. Honestly, it looks like Braveheart just expect them to be farming in their woods, and that's a pretty safe assumption in all honesty. They're showing the Bounty Hunter down the bottom lane, the Bloodseeker's farming in mid, and usually you just have the Gyrocopter Lesh taking out the jungle creeps. But yep, it's going to be the big creep for them. Roshan's going to fall in an Aegis to the Immortal and an 8-charge Bloodstone for Leshrac. This is pretty much the perfect storm for them. Oh, there's going to be an ultimate mid coming in from the Bloodseeker, but Rage TP Lifestealer is going to be just fine. Honestly, using the Rupture there is mostly just a waste, unless he has no TP.
Yeah, it doesn't have a super long cooldown, but right now the Bloodseeker doesn't actually have a ton of mana. Oh, regen rune. It's always a regen rune, and he has Arc Boots on his team, so he'll be just fine to get back up to full, and it's not really going to be a terribly huge loss. With this Aegis, TerrorBlade can just go for a simple straight push. They have Bloodstone already up in the Leshrac, so he's going to get rewarded for surviving these fights. They have Track available, and Gyrocopter has a fresh BKB at 10 seconds, so straight down the mid lane they go. Maybe they should wait for the Gyrocopter to actually arrive, since 4v5, even with this advantage that they have of double lives, not really going to be instantly winning them any fights, but we'll see how Bravehearts actually want to respond to this. They have the Lina, rather, up on the high ground. They have Chow Yue with Sure, not infested in anyone just yet. Maybe needs to use that one as a little bit of a security measure. Top lane tower does get destroyed by the Storm Spirit. In the meantime, there is no response in mid. And, well, sooner or later the creep wave is going to come in, and with Edict, they'll eventually take this tower down. They even see the Lina, I think? Yeah, they're not going to get initiated by her at any rate. So, tower should be cleanly destroyed, and Bravehearts, they're kind of trying to race this. You can't race the Leshrac.
No, definitely not. As a Storm Spirit especially, his creep damage is decent, but oh, he's actually going to zip TP all the way back to base. A little bit of wasted mana there, but the Storm Spirit needs to be back. The high ground push is continuing with an Aegis on the Leshrac. They're pretty safe just to go for the slow siege. Every time you have the Edict, up to level 3 now for the Lash, they'll be able to get some pretty significant damage. But looks like instead they're going to back off. Honestly, I think that's a little too conservative for my liking, but their tier 2 up in top lane has taken some pretty significant damage. They'll back off with the Witch Doctor, farm that up, and occupy the enemy woods.
Bottom lane as well. The side lane's not really going very well for TerrorBlade at the time of that mid push. The total result so far was they got the Aegis, took down a tier 2 tower, which is not really perfect. You want to get a little bit more generally. But if they have a lot of extra time with this Aegis, they probably will get a lot more, as if they just all consolidate into one lane, top, bottom, take your pick, they could go for a very simple secondary push, and hell, even if they have another time, they can go for a tertiary push up on the well, other side lane that they aren't already in. So all these tier 2 towers should be dropping,
zip
or at
up
least
top.
Pressured.
Lifestealer Bomb going to blow up the Witch Doctor. There really was no hope for him. It was a long ball in, already down to about half HP after the Infest, and then 2 auto attacks. Not much to see there.
Yeah, and it's really for Witch Doctor, that amount of burst damage, not something that he could handle. Going for the Glimmer Cape, so maybe in the future, if the Lifestealer or Storm don't have True Sight, and I mean those heroes will usually grab True Sight, but not holding it right now. We do have a charge going down towards the bottom lane. However, this is a 1v1. Sure, not going to get Rupture on his way in. The Blade Mail going to return some damage, but he gets stunned up. Here comes the Lightning and the Pulse Nova. Sure, bit off way more than he could chew. Going to stick up and last a little while longer, but ultimately Bloodseeker is going to be A-okay, and off to the left side, they do also pick off the Rubik, who got way too close to a Gyrocopter Bounty Hunter combo. That should be another track kill there, although I don't see it on cooldown. I assume that it was used. Up towards top, it is being pushed. Chow Yue getting into a fight with Chiyu right now. Man fighting up against this Lifestealer, straight into the Death Ward, however. Lifestealer going to drop, and Chiyu going to be A-okay. Storm Spirit chilling for right now, and thinking about jumping back in, makes a long zip in, going for Chiyu. Stick charges though, and well, he'll try to get this kill, and he will. But now he's completely out of mana. Has to deal with Socks as well. Into the fountain. No, he's just going to commit suicide and get to his own fountain. Big dive. Not sure what that means, but is that worth it?
I'm not exactly sure. It cost Storm Spirit any Bloodstone charges they would have gotten. It is a kill on a pretty high priority target, but Storm Spirit also didn't fully buy out there, so he did lose quite a decent chunk of gold for going for the Bloodstone suicide. But he didn't give up any in return. Across the trade, I think it still favors the TerrorBlade side, since the Lifestealer dies so quickly. With the Desolator and Armlet, he was absolutely trucking. When it was just the Gyrocopter, it was a completely fine trade for him, but you're diving under tier 3 towers. There is going to be some support behind him.
Sooner or later, someone on the TerrorBlade side is going to get some way to cancel that TP. And even if they don't, Medallion, you can cast that onto raged targets. So just cutting through with physical damage, whether it's that Edict or even the Death Ward, level 2 at this stage, it's a viable way to go. They still have the Aegis on the Leshrac, and it seems like TerrorBlade are getting tired of this. So they're just going to go straight down the bottom lane. And this tier 2 tower is probably going to be taken down. Same thing, however, the laning situation from Bravehearts is pretty good on the side lanes, as top and mid are both pushing very heavily in. So for TerrorBlade, they can't fully go for a Doom push up to tier 3s, but or can they? I guess with the Aegis timing out, it's not really going to happen, but they may just push up the high ground and force everyone from Bravehearts back, with no intention of actually taking any buildings.
The Storm Spirit's going to show up in the top lane. That makes things a little bit more attractive for them to go for the push, but instead, mass TP reactions in return. The Storm Spirit's very low on mana. Look for a zip TP. He'll succeed, and a charge away by the Spirit Breaker will keep him alive, or will it? Oh, the Rupture, very close from coming out. That would have stopped the Spirit Breaker's charge and maybe allowed them to chase him, but not going to be the case. Gyrocopter was left behind to farm up in their woods, and that's pretty much all she wrote. Braveheart are doing a good job at keeping these lanes pressured, even though they're losing some of these fights and losing a couple of pickoffs here and there. The effect of those lost heroes is mitigated by the fact that there really isn't much potential to go high ground when both of the lanes are pushing on their enemy front door.
It's kind of a band-aid though, right? Like they're not getting a ton off of the fact that they are pushing into these tier 2s and preventing the TerrorBlade side from going in. They're saving their own ass, which is, that's a pretty good thing, but they're not gaining a lot, so they're going from, a not winning position into a slightly less not winning position. It's not really going to be what they need to do. They ultimately have to get some sort of pick-off here if they actually want to get some towers and gain some advantage of their own, and it looks like bottom lane tier 2 will be attempted by Braveheart's side. Should be an even trade since up towards top, seems like TerrorBlade are knocking on the equivalent tower. But again, Bravehearts, they can't afford to race here, so they will have to fall back after applying a little bit of pressure. And Bravehearts, they have no more outer towers to take. They can wait for a Roshan. They're going to be respawning in an unknown amount of time right now, but again, they know that they can race, so they will start the race. They will just go right at the high ground with the Solar Crest active and see whom they could actually draw back. It's going to be everyone to return right now for Bravehearts, because you can't really let the enemy team take your tier 3 for free, although it's dropping very rapidly to the Edict. Tower will survive for a little while longer, but honestly, TerrorBlade can just sit back and go in for round 2 with the Solar Crest and the Leshrac.
Invest into the Storm Spirit. Looks like Braveheart are ready to mount advance. They're going to zip in, blow up the Bloodseeker with the amp. He melts in a matter of seconds. The BKB populated gyro is definitely going to help, but Sox is also dropping low, forced to Bloodstone Suicide. A 1-for-3 trade up until this point. The Gyrocopter still standing strong. They'll get a couple of hits off into the Storm Spirit. A Laguna Blade will fly, but not going to be lethal. Another zip in. The Storm Spirit goes for round number 2. G still pretty darn low, but they won't be able to secure that as Bounty Hunter snipes the poor Rubik. Bounty Hunter will throw another track, and he's just dancing with the enemy team at this point. Not a lot of mana to speak of on the Storm Spirit. Their chasing power isn't the greatest. With no detection on the Bounty Hunter, it looks like he's going to survive.
Ultimately, Braveheart's getting a couple kills there. The track was, occasionally being thrown from the Bounty Hunter, and he actually throws out another one. Not enough mana on Storm to actually chase that one out. Of course, whenever they jump in, I drop to actually 0 frames per second, so yeah, I don't exactly know what happened there, but it seems like Braveheart actually finally used their initiation power. Like, Storm Spirit does do quite a bit of damage if you have that large of a ball lightning. Also, Spirit Breaker getting right to the back lines and getting on top of Leshrac. That's the hero that is probably doing the most damage at this point, and that's the hero that you could pretty easily bring down if you get on top of him, especially since he didn't have a BKB at the time. So Braveheart choosing their targets correctly and getting rewarded because of it, that's exactly the play that they have to do in order to come back in this game. Take a team fight, get initiation. The only concern is it might have been too late. Like, they could have been doing that for 15 minutes now.
The Lifestealer is still very, very farmed. He finishes up a harder Tarrasque, can now keep his armlet on all the time without really any regard for his life. And packed up inside the Storm Spirit, he's a tanky threat, and he does a truck ton of damage as long as he can stick onto a hero. Oh, Bounty Hunter, looks like they might have an inkling of where the Bounty Hunter is roaming at the moment, but no true sight on the ground. They don't know for sure. The Storm Spirit will go around the sidelines. They don't spot anybody just yet, but they will very, very shortly.
Chan is going to run into 5 heroes. LSA going to connect onto 2. Going to try to go for Chu. Drops him pretty low. Ball lightning. There it is. Going to go straight to the Gyrocopter. However, he does get his BKB off. Call down is there. They're actually focusing on the Witch Doctor in the back lines. It's the Storm Spirit to do that, but he's falling not doing it really quickly. They lose their supports right now. However, Chow Yue and Storm's very much so alive as Bounty Hunter. Ruptured, stolen. He's going to try to TP out. He will make it home alive. Ultimately making it a 2-for-2 trade. Poor supports, man. Like, they don't have that much survivability, but they're the ones to drop. Bloodseeker, however, also did die. So, ultimately for Bravehearts, I assume that the heroes that died had, maybe 1 track on them in total. But still, Lifestealer at full HP, Storm Spirit at a very high amount of HP as well. They can reinitiate if they really want to. It seems like they kind of do. Onto Sox, is double damaging. That's not really a threat. There we go. Jump in. Pulling him back straight into the Desolator Lifestealer. Sox has his wounds open. No BKB. However, he will get quite a far distance away as they do pick off Rubik in the back lines, and I don't have any idea what's going on right now.
It looks like a double kill for Leshrac, I think.
Here I am.
They kill off the Lifestealer. I'm not sure how, but yeah, we'll roll with it. Lifestealer down.
Yeah, I definitely saw that on camera. And Roshan is conveniently up. And while that is being cleared out, I don't think Bravehearts is going to crash this, right? I'm going to reconnect again and see if it's any better.
Alrighty, it seems like I'm having a slightly better time than you, so if it really doesn't work, we can switch streamers, although that's incredibly inconvenient for the viewers. But either way, Roshan is going to be attempted by the TerrorBlade side, and it looks like you're right in assuming that Braveheart can't really go for it without the Lifestealer up. Losing the Lifestealer there is a pretty big deal, even though we didn't get to see it happen. But yeah, that's going to be Roshan, a second life presumably for the Leshrac. Second Rosh of the game. No cheese just yet, but no, there you have it. Oh, Laguna Blade catches out the Bounty Hunter, but he has a mechanism and is pretty tanky here. That Laguna Blade didn't hurt that much, but with another strike in, they'll be able to secure that kill. They slow down short with the Lightning Strike coming out from the Leshrac, chasing forward for a little bit more, but they're not going to find it. The Spirit Breaker will survive.
I think I connected to an even worse server. Like,
oh,
they're not even running properly anymore.
Roshan has fallen to the Dire.
I actually want to know if you saw it. The Leshrac, he got jumped, he got his wounds opened, and he still got away. Like in that top lane fight. Did you actually see how he got out there? Was there a Force Staff involved or something? It seemed like there was, but of course with my frame rate,
there is no Force Staff on anybody this game, which is honestly surprising. Like usually you'll see at least one. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have no clue. I didn't see it.
Okay. Well, he somehow slipped out of there, and now that he has his plate mail going towards Shiva's, I spoke earlier about the fact that there's a sweet spot where Leshrac has a lot of health and not much armor. That's not really the case anymore. Granted, Lifestealer does have Desolator, so a little bit of armor not really going to bother him too much, but Sock's starting to get up some serious armor durability. Gyrocopter finally has a way to cancel that Rage TP, and he also has quite a bit of armor himself, so Lifestealer, who though he is pretty tanky at this point, is doing quite a bit of damage, is facing up against many heroes and many things that just mitigate him entirely. Solar Crest and Mechanism also doing that on the Bounty Hunter. So
up top, Split from Fog.
He's going to not get Ruptured. Silent Circle a little bit too late. Rupture's still available, but doesn't really do that much. Rubik gonna straight TP out, and Storm, where's he gonna go? Up towards the top lane again. Maybe you should just Ball Lightning TP like right now. Okay, no, he's just gonna swagger back home.
Yeah, and he'll be safe in doing so that's pretty nice. But that was a slick stun coming out from Leshrac. There just wasn't appropriate follow-up. Oop, mid lane. Charge forward onto the Bounty Hunter, but no further vision. Lifestealer going to Rage TP. No way to cancel that one through, and he's going to survive inside his base. Tier 1 tower, or Tier 2, excuse me, in mid will be denied by the Bloodseeker.
Another good move from Braveheart, preventing the TerrorBlade side from actually pushing in. They have the Aegis on the Leshrac. This is when, if you're TerrorBlade, you want to be going straight up the Tier 3, straight up the Tier 3s. It looks like they'll do it right now, not after taking some losses as far as their structures are concerned, but I still think that TerrorBlade at this point can just go in and start taking structures. Maybe top lane would have been slightly better, but man, they could just slide up there and take that one as well, should this fight go sour for the Braveheart side.
Well, inside the mid lane, they'll continue the pressure, but yeah, the charge is coming from the backline straight onto the Gyrocopter. With MKB, the Gyrocopter is going to do a lot of damage in return, but they'll continue. They jump forward with the Glue Blade. They'll blow up that Gyro and rip apart the Bounty Hunter too. Nether Strike's going to be canceled by the Coconut, but it doesn't matter. Socks will die. Losing his Aegis in the second life isn't looking too great for him either. He's going to turn on his Pulse Nova, trying to go for at least one kill before falling, but he'll fall so very fast. My goodness, finally we get to see Braveheart's initiation at its full potential.
Oh my god, and I got like full frames throughout the entire fight as well. It's a Christmas miracle. TerrorBlade just got wrecked with a capital T. Like, that was just absolutely disgusting. It's still the initiation power of Braveheart that allows them to make that play. Gyrocopter didn't get his BKB off. He just didn't see that one coming because there's so much burst damage and there's straight pull in from the Storm Spirit after, of course, a lot of infest damage as well. They go straight up towards top lane. Desolator providing some value now as Bravehearts are going to be the ones to return fire. Yeah, the side of TerrorBlade, as far as taking those full 5-on-5 clashes, they lack the initiation. They have really good single target pickoff, and that has been what has been driving this game for them thus far, but that's starting to run out, especially when you have to go towards Tier 3s. First hit bash into Leshrac through his BKB, dropping pretty low right now, charge forward onto Socks, gets glimmered out, but still he's going to get beaten down. He is surviving for a little while longer, even with the Laguna Blade, he's going to live. And now Chaoyui's on the run. He's going to die, and Chen, he's ruptured. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. Tier 3 down. Rax is still surviving, though, as it is the Storm Spirit to straight TP out of there. Can they crack back? Is it time for TerrorBlade to just swing right back into the Radiant base?
The last couple minutes of this game have been so incredibly back and forth, and that's shown in the graphs. A really huge swing into the Radiant's favor, but now that's pretty much completely gone. The Laguna Blade, it's amazing that it didn't kill off the Lesh, but the only reason why it's agging up is that the Lina has gone for this Midas into Ags build. It's not something you see very often from support Linas. In fact, we don't see it hardly at all, but it works out in that fight. Unfortunately, it wasn't a level 16 Laguna Blade. If it was, that could have gone completely differently.
Yeah, it seems like it just did no damage there, which is really freaking weird, but it is TerrorBlade to crack back again. Unfortunately for them, they're not going quite fast enough, so by the time they actually get to the enemy base, everyone on the Braveheart side will be ready to fight. Do they have the... okay, they have the Infest, they have a Laguna Blade once they're going to pop up, and there's still a tier 3 tower to essentially sacrifice. Ball ending in just to stall out Sox right now. Another strike is there as well. Sox taking a beating right now. He'll get blown up immediately. Sure, may pay the price for it, but that's totally worth it for the Braveheart side. Getting Leshrac off the board means there's a lot less pushing power from the TerrorBlade side, and now they can even reinitiate because they do have the Lifestealer back from the dead. Gonna jump into the Storm Spirit, who's teleporting straight to the front lines. How far is he gonna go? As far as he can possibly go. Sees the Bloodseeker in his sights, gonna get right on top of him with the pull. Maybe some bashes as well. Bloodseeker's gonna drop for sure. And now the third crackback as Bravehearts take a couple of kills. Unfortunately, one of them is the Leshrac, so he will be up very, very swiftly. But Bloodseeker down with no buyback for a minute represents a minute where Braveheart may very well take top Raxes.
The biggest issue inside these fights, at least in my eyes, is that they're using the Leshrac amp on the Leshrac. And although that makes him do a ridiculous amount of damage, he dies just as quickly. You see the ball lightning drops him down to hardly any HP already, and then pop. Leshrac is gone. Without Sox, that's a lot of their DPS down the tubes. I mean, Gyrocopter can follow up in theory, but he's also way too squishy. With only 1400 max HP and you're dealing with a Deso Lifestealer, counts for hardly anything at all.
And Lifestealer is getting a lot of cash as well. Ooh, they also spot the Bounty Hunter. I don't know how they did it, but they're going to throw the Nether Strike, and with Storm Spirit, Bounty is not going to escape. Secondary Dust just for security from someone. Okay, no, that was just lag on my end, so they didn't throw 2 dusts. They do have a gem on Linus, and maybe TerrorBlade don't know about that, but Bounty Hunter dropping for free, you know, going to apply a lot of pressure to the top lane, and now TerrorBlade are in a very awkward position where they knew that they had an advantage, but now they don't. So the hardest part here is to evaluate as a team, how far ahead are we, if we are far ahead at all, because they just took like 2 or 3 consecutive losses in fights. They can't really feel confident enough just to go straight pushing anymore.
At this point, this game is so close to even. At 37 minutes in the game, you usually have more than just a zeroed out net worth graph and an experience advantage of 7,500. This could go in either team's direction, but after those handful of thrown fights back and forth between both of these teams, I think they're going to be a little bit more hesitant to go without having an Aegis of the Immortal. That is, unless there's pickoffs involved, and if somebody finds a good smoke rotation, that could change things in a pretty big way. Smoke going to be purchased by the Bloodseeker, but they haven't flown it out yet, although it looks like they're grouping up to do just that. If they smoke right now, they'd be right on top of a Radiant Observer ward. That could be pretty interesting if Braveheart are being diligent. It looks like this ward is going to scout it out 100%.
There's no way that Bravehearts are going to miss this smoke. Oh, yeah. That's unfortunate. Pings from yellow. And, yeah, TerrorBlade, they're not going to get anything off of it. Hell, even Storm Spirit can keep pushing up towards top, honestly, since you could just ball lightning away from it. Smoking up for TerrorBlade is what they need to do. They need to make the odds not even. They need to make it a 5v4. Then they have to go for this high ground push. But it doesn't seem like that's actually going to be viable right now. Actually, they're actually getting pretty close to a target. They do see Sure, or they did see Sure, but yeah, they have to back off for right now. So smoke unsuccessful. A smoke gank into a 5-man push, and TerrorBlade are right back in the driver's seat, probably with an advantage as well. So yeah, you can't really blame them for going for those types of plays, but just come on, guys. You gotta be diligent with your detection.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Well, at the moment, we're just going to go back to the similar status quo we've been seeing for quite a long time this game. Deep ward placed out by the Rubik will spot out some rotations down in the bottom lane. Honestly, the Radiant Vision at the moment is darn near perfect. There's going to be a charge forward, catching out the gyrocopter. There is a lifestealer in tow. He's going to pop out, going straight onto the gyro, but he's forced to rage TP. That will succeed, but at the cost of poor Spirit Breaker's life. They force a couple of BKBs out, one from the Lesh and one from the gyro, respectively. But already down to 5 seconds on the gyro and down to 7 on the Lesh. It's probably not going to matter much in the grand scheme of things.
A little bit of miscommunication there from Bravehearts. The Spirit Breaker peeled away where the Lifestealer thought that they were going in, so it was a mismatch of their priorities, and Spirit Breaker is down for a minute with no buyback. Essentially, this makes the smoke gank of previous succeed, since end result, one hero down for Bravehearts. Problem is that Storm Spirit's up towards top, pushing Raxes really quickly. Granted, just range Rax, so sheep up Socks, trying to work through this fortify, and he's going to get all the way back to his base. Sitting in the fountain even, just for BM measures. This forces everyone from TB actually to fall back, so the Storm Spirit, just with a slick, very easy really, counter push play or split push play, keeps everything alive in his side of the map. If Bravehearts are forced to fight without their Spirit Breaker, I don't know if they could actually win, because this charge Nether Strike, just stun piercing, BKB piercing stuns from the Spirit Breaker have been a good amount of damage from them.
Yeah, and no, there's going to be an infest in. Pretty long ball in from the Storm Spirit, but oh, there's the real jump onto the poor Leshrac in bottom lane. Sox is isolated, and he was just under the shadow of his tier 3 tower. Nowhere is safe with the amount of wards that Braveheart have. Just take a look. There's a line. Oh, looks like they might find something out on the retreat. There's going to be a shuriken thrown out by the bounty hunter, but I'm not sure if they can actually fully go for this chase. Rupture is going to be dropped onto the Storm Spirit. He'll zip forward, doesn't have TP available to him, and he's ruptured for a long time, but the follow-up just isn't there. But yeah, at the moment, I think what's winning Braveheart most of these engagements is just the fact that they know everything that TerrorBlade are doing.
Yeah, they have every single lane with a ward in it. And usually the advice is, oh, use your observe wards to kind of replace towers, but not offensively. We don't really see it that much. We have a charge going up towards Chiyu. There's no infest here. However, there's a Storm Spirit, forces the BKB out. 50 seconds where that's offline now, and Bravehearts invest just a little bit of mana to actually get that accomplished. They're slowly going to get into a position where they're just strangling TB out of resources, and with their Storm Spirit and Spirit Breaker, their effective range gets so much more useful when there is less range to cover. So they'll be able to sit in the mid lane, bounce between top and bottom as need be, and then occasionally go and poke the Raxes. And that's exactly what Storm is going to do right now. Range Raxes, just a couple hits away from being destroyed. Melee Rax probably not going to happen just yet. They need the Lifestealer there with the Desolator to really take this one down, but they're constantly forcing TB to not push. And if they're doing that, Bravehearts, then they're winning the game.
Yeah, and this Storm Spirit's getting so many Bloodstone charges. 6-2 and 9, it's very weird to see a 21 Bloodstone charge up for him, but since he's picked it up, he really just hasn't died. The initiations have been on point. Smoke up top lane. Maybe they can find the Spirit Breaker, as he was sitting in that lane a while ago, but I think he's safe. Looks like he'll be able to back up far enough, or will he? He's lagging around a little bit. He walks towards that small camp, and that's his demise. Stuck around way too long with no TP, excuse me. There's no real hope for the Spirit Breaker. He'll charge through all of them, but he'll eat a coconut and a whole lot of damage from the rest of the team, and Leshrac will secure it with the lightning.
So the Blade Mail does return Rupture. At that point, do you just like charge away with Blade Mail on and just try to race the Bloodseeker? I don't know if that's actually a viable thing to do. The math will
zip in.
Bounty, what are you doing there, bro? Track stolen and track returned. A little bit of extra gold for the Rubik, a little bit extra gold for everyone on the Braveheart side, plus of course a Aegis cheese for the Storm Spirit, Lifestealer respectively. Now Braveheart, they're going to be in a position where they will still be strangulating the resources out from TerrorBlade, but this time they'll have the power to actually go up high ground since they do have the double lives, or I guess triple lives.
The Lifestealer isn't going to be sitting on the cheese. Instead, he opts to purchase up a Hyperstone. Lifestealer at the moment is going without buyback, so maybe there's a glimmer of hope for TerrorBlade if they can kill off this Lifestealer, but that is a very, very tall order. He has since replaced his armlet. I'm not sure if I'm entirely on board with that. I would have liked him to hold on to the armlet and hold buyback, but to each his own. In mid lane, they have a trap laid out. Long zip in. Ooh, looking for the courier snipe. Storm Spirit going to not quite find it, but he has a little bit more mana to use. Courier's down towards the south, and he catches eyes onto it, but finally his mana pool has run dry. The Courier holding onto the quarterstaff for the Gyrocopter will live another day.
Or will it?
Oh no! The Storm Spirit just catches eyeballs on it, and that is a Courier snipe.
It was holding a quarterstaff. Who's that for? It's going to be for the gyrocopter. That was him thinking about going for the butterfly. Honestly, that's probably good that he didn't buy the butterfly, since buyback is super valuable at this stage for the TerrorBlade side. If you win a fight with buybacks, you could very easily crack back into your own set of Raxes. So maybe Storm Spirit doing the TerrorBlade side a favor, preventing them from making a bad decision there. But still, Storm Spirit had Lifestealer inside him the entire time, and maybe TerrorBlade didn't get a read on that. So Storm Spirit is a walking bomb right now, and Gyrocopter is not in a good position right now. Big Ball ending in, instantly gets sheeped up, already dropped half HP, gets blown up, and they're also onto Bloodseeker as well. With the Desolator Basher, he'll get glimmered out, maybe. No, he's dropping way too low, way too quickly. Socks now with the BKB, sitting in the middle of everyone with the Pulse Nova, trying to go for Chaoyue, but he's pretty resistant. He's going to turn around straight with the lifesteal and bring Socks down almost completely by himself. He will drop in the end, but Rubik is coming in for the backlines, sure, as well as Storm Spirit still in the middle of things. Buyback from Leshrac right now. Chiyu is doing so much damage, not taking any of his own with the BKB up. Storm Spirit now out of mana. He's going to drop as well. He has the Aegis. He will respawn straight into a Split Earth unless Socks messes this one up. You shouldn't. There's a Split Earth. There's the burst damage. There goes the Storm Spirit. That's a huge exchange for TB. Does cost them a buyback on the Leshrac, and Storm Spirit has an instant respawn. But still, they kill off the Lifestealer. They take a rather even trade through the Aegis Cheese.
And even if they don't know what Lifestealer doesn't have buyback, so for a minute they don't have to deal with him. But what can they actually do during this time? Top and bottom lane are both pushing out as ensured by the Rubik. He'll blink over the sidelines, and he has a 4-step. Fairly elusive, this Rubik. And with the vision offered by the ward in lane and the wards in all of the lanes, it looks like Braveheart, even though they lose a fight, they're not going to lose any map objectives after it. Ooh, Shiva's Guard going to be dropped, trying to catch out this very cheeky Rubik as he drops a handful of tracks first, but he'll be able to TP home to safety.
Man, that Rubik's got some balls. He was in a position where, yeah, he has a Blink Dagger 4-staff, but you also track the enemy, and track does reveal you, so yeah, he didn't get punished there, but still, for Bravehearts, they're going to jump right in onto the Witch Doctor. Storm Spirit with the BKB, doesn't give a damn about Socks right now. He'll assassinate the Witch Doctor, get straight away. No Lifestealer inside him, no problem at this point. He still has 17 Bloodstone charges, even after dying and instantly respawning, so this guy has a lot of mana regen, especially with this Lincoln Sphere also completed. Not really sure if Lincoln Sphere is the item that I want to see on the Storm Spirit this game. There's not much to block, honestly, but still, he has a lot of mana regen, and using that mana to just kill off people with Ball Lightning so far has been working out for them really, really well.
Yeah, even after dying, he's still sitting on 17 Bloodstone charges. That's honestly quite obscene. Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same side of the fence on the Lincolns as you are, but yeah, it's going to stop the eventual Scythe coming out from Leshrac, or at least I think that's going to be a Scythe.
You know, out of the possible Lifestealer bombs on Braveheart's side, you don't expect him to be an Alina. That's for damn sure. Trying to glimmer into a better position, does get into a better position, but now there's no one to actually kill, but there's an Observer Ward. Chen does have another glimmer in, maybe catch the Bloodseeker and burst him down. Oh no, just glimmering to the other side of the lane now. This is like so scary right now. It's scary to watch. Like, of course TerrorBlade have no idea that this is going on with this Lina, but still, Chen has so much kill power just by herself. Like, just the Lina has a lot of kill power, so her glimmering around is a threat. With the Lifestealer inside of her, the kill power, what, like tripled or something like that. Smoke up for the bottom lane. They're going to catch the Storm Spirit, perhaps. Yeah, he's stunned up once. Let's get the BKB off. How much is the burst going to actually bring him down? Gets the BKB off in the end, jumps to the back lines. He's still taking quite a bit of damage, and here comes Chaoyue as well as Chen. They're going to try to go for the Bloodseeker. Gets bashed up, and Bloodseeker will drop low, but he will get healed up a little bit by that Lina kill. Now into Chaoyue he goes. Chaoyue going to try to fight to the death, and he will die very quickly. Now the Storm Spirit, he will get out of there in time. However, Rubik and Spirit Breaker, they're still sticking around, especially Sure, who's tracked up right now. Here comes the pretty swift Bloodseeker. Short TP in from Leshrac, and Sure's going to straight 180. I don't know who he charged there, but that's not really where he wanted to end up. Turn around for another strike. Will slay the Bloodseeker. Now with the BKB, he'll try to make it out. I don't know if this BKB is going to last long enough with the track movement speed. I think they could probably chase Sure down, but no, they're going to decide to fall back instead.
Huh, interesting. Well, they are down their Bloodseeker, and Rubik is continuously pushing out these lanes. Honestly, this Rubik is quite a menace. Not usually a slow pushing hero, but Rubik's doing his best nature's prophet impression. He's going to steal from the bounty hunter yet again. It is Shadow Walk, nothing too major there, and maybe he'll even get spotted out. Who knows? He has Blink Force, and he's just going to TP him to safety. In that bottom fight, I'm pretty sure that Lina Laguna bladed herself off of the Lotus Orb, even though it doesn't get the Ags upgrade since Gyrocopter isn't sitting on the Ags. But oh, speaking of, Gyrocopter up in the top lane will be jumped by the Storm Spirit, pulled back in. Even though he has the BKB, it might not save him now that Spirit Breaker comes charging in. They'll get the Hex over on the Spirit Breaker kill off, sure, and are you kidding me? The Gyrocopter will still survive long enough to get a couple more shots in. The Storm Spirit will zip TP and he'll keep himself safe, but my goodness, Gyrocopter survived a lot longer than he should have due to that butterfly evasion.
Yeah, the fact that he survived is nice to a certain extent, but he did end up going in the end, and the trade was Gyrocopter for Spirit Breaker after all is said and done. So still it's a trade for Braveheart that, although maybe surprising, is still going to be fine for them. Rubik got tracked, stole Shuriken. That's not really what you want to have as a Rubik. Not bad, but certainly could be better since its cast range is shit nowadays. With no Spirit Breaker, maybe Braveheart's going to be, never mind, they're going to jump right into Socks. Huge ball lightning damage, gets the BKB up on himself. Lotus Orb is there as well, but they're going to instead focus on this Bloodseeker. Chaoyai doing his work, but he's all alone right now. Someone please help this Lifestealer. He's going to get sheeped up. Death Ward is there as well, going to tear through the Lifestealer and the Lina both. They also do see the Rubik. They're going to take him down, or at least go on the chase for him. No Rupture, and the Rubik is pretty darn mobile. But is he faster than the Bloodseeker right now? Bloodseeker maybe can get fogged out a little bit, but if one hit connects, I have Scotty, Sanjay, Yasha. That's a guaranteed kill. Now it seems like the Rubik is going to slip away, but in the meantime, we do have Storm Spirit stalking Socks once again, but Lifestealer has no buyback, and TerrorBlade have all their heroes that bar the Gyrocopter. They can go for a push right now if they don't lose anyone. However, they might lose Socks. He's charged, he's lifted up, Lightning Storm stolen, Socks dropping really low, really fast. This time, he's going to drop. And the rest of his team, this time, they're a little bit too late. Charge coming through, going to connect onto two. Bounty Hunter dusted up. They're going to focus the Bounty and the Witch Doctor at the exact same time. Nope, they're going to change their mind, focus for the Bounty, and maybe jump forward for a little bit extra. Lightning Storm going to slow this Witch Doctor down, pick him off in the end. 20 HP, he'll die. Drop the gem as well. Storm Spirit, Spirit Breaker, and Rubik doing work, and now Bloodseeker's the only survivor.
Well, I'm honestly pretty surprised that that works out for Braveheart. I didn't see the majority of the fight, but as far as the Antalya is concerned, it works wonderfully. That Invis run on the Storm Spirit pays for itself and then some. Really nice. They'll buy back in the Bounty Hunter, and, well, it looks like that's going to be about it. They do have to deal with these lanes pushing in, but honestly, I'm not sure Braveheart can fully commit for a tower push since they don't have their Lifestealer. But even so, that's a pretty big deal for them.
On the note of that Lifestealer, he's pretty darn fragile. Like, if you look at his build, yeah, Heart of Tarrasque, that's a lot of HP, but the fact that he sold the armlet means that he has a lot less armor, and usually that's not going to be super relevant, but at this stage, when there is a Witch Doctor on the other end, when there's a Gyrocopter, when there's even a Leshrac with Edict, and to a lesser extent, this Bloodseeker's not hitting that softly either, this Lifestealer, he's gone for a little bit too much glass in his cannon, I think. If he had still had the armlet, I don't know, maybe no Hyperstone or something like that, then just that extra bit of armor will give him so much more time in these fights. He really needs to complete an AC, but with him constantly dying, he's not actually getting that much gold.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd love to see a medallion up for the Rubik or anybody for their team, even if they don't upgrade it to the Solar Crest. Oh, the Bounty Hunter caught out. That's a dieback for him. Absolutely blown to shreds. The Laguna Blade, there's really not much hope.
With no Bounty Hunter, that means that Bravehearts can easily walk into Roche and at least start it. This is an Aegis Cheese Roshan, the second one of the game, and I don't know if TerrorBlade can actually do anything about this. Yeah, Silent Circle Bloodright is pretty good in this area, as is Death Ward, but they're a little bit too far away, and here comes Chaoyai. Here's where the Glass Cannon Lifestealer really works out well up against Roche. So another Aegis perhaps for Storm, another Cheese perhaps for Lifestealer, but these heroes don't really have items to spare, so what's it going to be? It's going to be Lina with the double life, and Storm Spirit to ultimately drop the cheese. No power treads, no problem. He's so slow now, though.
Yeah, he has Ball Lightning, got 22 Bloodstone charge, or 22 Bloodstone charges to work with, so he's more than mobile enough, even though he's moving at 336 movement speed with the Spirit Breaker and 285 without. Holy cow, that is incredibly slow moving, but either way, I'm not sure if I like them giving the cheese to the Storm Spirit and the Aegis to the Lina. I think the Lina probably would have made better use of that cheese, and Storm the better use of the Aegis, but honestly, it probably doesn't matter that much. Storm Spirit now carrying some precious cargo. The Lifestealer is up and at the ready. If they can find any hero that is pushing out alone, but it looks like that's unlikely. Their ward vision has started to lapse. There is one ward down the bottom spot, but that's about it. In fact, that's our only ward on this map.
It seems like everyone has just been not warding. Like, at a certain point in the late game stage, the gem becomes a little bit more common, so keeping your observer wards alive becomes damn near impossible, but still, there is now zero vision across the map. And that's actually pretty bad for Bravehearts. When you have a Spirit Breaker and Storm Spirit, you want to have as many observer wards up as possible just so you get those pickoffs. And for the TerrorBlade side, they have a Bounty Hunter, so they'll be able to walk around. Yeah, they may walk into a gem, but he can at least provide some scouting vision. Up towards top, though, Storm Spirit, he really wants to go for this one. When's he going to make that jump? Is he going to make that jump? No, he's not, because they have no idea what's going on in the enemy base.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at their vision, it stops here. The only hero that they saw, and only that momentarily, was the Leshrac as he goes for a little bit of damage in mid lane. It's a scary spot to be in. Braveheart, if they try to commit, they're probably just going to end up getting blown up since they don't know what they can focus on. They jump onto Socks. With the Laguna Blade, they'll blow up the Lesh, but he'll buy back into the game. The Bloodseeker also loses his life. They'll Nether Strike over onto the Gyrocopter, but the Gyrocopter is very tanky. And now that the Witch Doctor ultimate's down on the ground, Storm Spirit is going to lose his head, although it's a very fast respawn time. Back up, and about the same time it would take him to respawn with the Aegis. Up in the north of this fight, they'll catch out poor Rubik as he's been going for his cheeky plays in the trees. It's a costly defense coming out from TerrorBlade, but they'll pull it through. They use a buyback on the Bloodseeker and the Lesh.
And Bravehearts still hold on to the Aegis on the Lina. They end up using the cheese, I think? Yeah, they do. So no more cheese left for them. Does force out 2 buybacks on 2 pretty important heroes right now. Yeah, it's going to free up some of their gold so that they could, buy whatever they really want to buy. But Bravehearts, they took those early kills super early and super easily, just with a ball lightning initiation from the Storm Spirit. It's not going to be impossible to see them just do the exact same thing again, get those couple of kills, except this time those heroes won't pop right back up. Especially since this time there's going to be an Assault Cuirass on the Lifestealer, who's of course inside the Storm Spirit. So if this Bloodseeker decides that it's a good idea to farm this wave, he's very quickly going to regret it. So he will back off for right now, but Bravehearts are in a situation where if they get just a single pick off on either Lesh or Bloodseeker, they can just straight up win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we take a look at the buyback status from both of these teams, Gyrocopter and Storm are the big holders of that buyback, but the Radiant are sitting on a little bit more, and since they still have the Aegis on the Lina, they might not even be forced to use that. But the Aegis is only going to be there for about a minute, and it looks like they're not going to find an opportunity where they can actually use it. Storm Spirit is affected by the Assault Cuirass aura, so if the enemy team is paying attention, they might know that Lifestealer is inside them. But at this point, that's almost a guarantee anyway. There's a refresher on this Lina, however. That is a big pickup. This Midas is paying for itself and then some. Picked up very early. This used to be a support Lina, but now with Aghanim Scepter refresher, she can blow up pretty much anybody that she wants. Gyrocopter, 100-0. Although the Bloodseeker will survive. That's pretty much about it.
Douyu. They're going to jump right in. That's a Laguna Blade death on the Gyrocopter. She has a second one as well. They're going to go right on top of Socks right now. Lotus Orb going to hold strong for right now, so they're not going to throw a second one. In fact, she doesn't have the mana for it. Call down is there, and Chaoya can't really get onto a target. He's on the run right now. Storm Spirit, though, now going to focus onto Chiyu as I drop frames, but they do take out the Gyrocopter. Now Bloodseeker popping the BKB, starting to man up. Is going to take down one, maybe take down the other, but no, Chaoya just tears him to shreds. This Lifestealer is not kidding around, and still Chan Chan's in the area. Doesn't have any more Laguna Blades. They'll take down the Lifestealer. Bloodseeker, Gyro, Witch Doctor down. Storm Spirit, however, still alive, and they do lose the Aegis. Finally, jump right back in on the Storm Spirit. They're going to go straight for the Bounty Hunter. No, change their mind. Go for Socks instead. That's a much better target because if they lose the Socks, then they just lose the game. Socks doing quite a bit of work. He's going to get a nice stun out, but he will go down in the end. And now Bounty Hunter is the only one alive. No buybacks available for the dire side. Chan Chan fighting to the death. I have no idea who's going to win this. Seems like Bounty Hunter is going to be A-okay. But still, 4 heroes down for the Dire. Chan Chan's still surviving. He might get picked off, though. I don't know. At 60 HP, that's all I see.
He threw the Shuriken, but now they're going to jump in. They pull back the Bounty Hunter. Yeah, on any other hero, that would have been a lethal shuriken, but with the Glimmer Cape, she'll survive, but then goes down. I didn't see what actually killed her. Was that her getting Lotus Orb? But either way, they're going to hex up the Bounty Hunter and kill him off. He has buyback, but he is the only one on the Dire side to be holding on to that. Witch Doctors respawn naturally. Stormspirit goes for the racks up top lane, but without the Lifestealer, their tower pushing power is a lot less than it could be in theory. Glimmer Cape up top by the Witch Doctor is going to show himself, throws the coconut, but dodge by the BKB and the Lincoln Sphere, double dodge coming out from the Storm, but the melee barracks looks like it's going to go down just the same.
Witch Doctor, Bounty Hunter can't really do too much, especially with the way they've itemized. Sheepstick is nice for the Witch Doctor, but that'll just delay the inevitable since they can't really capitalize on that hex. Top lane completely caved in. Now mid lane, range racks is to fall. Melee racks is probably to fall as well. They have a good 7 seconds till that happens, and Chan with his additional attack speed from Fiery Soul is actually doing a non-zero number on this melee rack. So that's 2 lanes completely taken from Bravehearts. Jump in actually on the Bounty Hunter, and he died. He's not there anymore, and the Ancient blows up apparently. Okay.
Game well played has been called, and well, there's not really much more to say, I suppose. Team Braveheart, it really was the vision at the late game stages that really tipped the scales in their favor. Whenever they're able to find those jumps with the Storm Spirit and Spirit Breaker, and just a couple of fights without buyback, and Team Braveheart will secure their victory, and TerrorBlade lose their grip. Unfortunately for them, we're going to go into game number 2 and see if they can pull it back.
Yeah, they did have a decent showing in this game, TerrorBlade, but just a little bit short. Guys, sincerest apologies for this lag. I can only reconnect so many times until it just gets pointless to do so. Of course, it always lags at the worst possible time. I don't think there's going to be a streamer switch because it seems like Grandis didn't have the spectacular time either. So, as always, just blame China, blame Perfect World. But guys, we're going to be going into game 2 between Braveheart and TerrorBlade very shortly. Don't go anywhere, and we will be right back.